Hey, Mike, what do Kelly Slater and PT have in common?
I don't know. They're both world champs?
Nope, they both own Endless Summer box set.
Oh my God, rad. You guys, you can get it too. The link's in the show notes.
On a slippery, big guns like Mark Fu. Trap jumping like a kangaroo.
Hey everybody, welcome to the QuiverCast, where we chat with surfers from all around the world, from all walks of life, and we get their story. Find us at www.thequivercast.com. I am Mike, your host. Let's get into the show. Hello, everybody. This is Mike here with the QuiverCast, and I got a super special guest from Maui in Hawaii. I got Granger Larsen. How are you doing, Granger?
It is Maui. Aloha. Thank
Aloha.
you, Mike. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. How's Maui right now today? Is it pumping?
Oh, beautiful day. The waves were pumping recently. Today we get shadowed by a certain island next door called Molokai when it comes to a certain direction. Either way, I love this place way too much.
Why do you love the Maui in particular, or all the Hawaiian Islands do you love?
I mean, I love all the Hawaiian Islands, like Kauai, Oahu, Maui, but I grew up here, so it's really hard when you grow up on an island to want to move to another island, which I know a lot of people do, just to be in your comfort zone, which in a way is kind of my downfall because, I mean, I've never lived anywhere else in my life.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, I love this island way too much. It's so beautiful. There's golf courses, which I love golfing.
Okay.
Best golf courses. And, I mean, we have Honolulu Bay, which is my home break. And it's like one of the best ways in the world. So it's really hard to justify the fact that I feel so, humble there. So
Yeah. Okay. When you do visit the other islands, what do you see the differences at? Are there a lot of differences?
Oh, all the islands have so much differences. It's like Kauai, I mean, it's so sacred and they have probably the best waves out of all the islands, but it's sacred. So I don't want to talk about that one. I have such good friends over there and I just don't even want to say about their waves. But
fair enough.
Oahu, of course, is like the pinnacle of the surf world in general,
Yeah.
where North Shore is the proving grounds, specifically saying pipeline.
Yeah.
And, when the swell's up, if you're not out, it's just really hard to make a name for yourself. But there's those people that do out of state, which is pretty good to see. And I mean, I'm out of the surf world now.
Yeah.
Because it's been 5 or 6 years since I was on the tour and the QS tour.
Yeah.
Generally speaking. And I mean, I don't know much about it, but I still love to watch it because I'm still a fan.
Okay.
Pipeline and just being on the North Shore in general is just such a pinnacle of the surf world.
So we'll go back to all that in a little while. Let's start with you and what made you, or how did you pick up your first board and start surfing?
So, not much people know this about me. I always say that I was born and raised in Hawaii, but my parents moved here in 1992 when I was 2 years old.
Okay.
With not much money in their pockets, and they just wanted to live in Hawaii because they wanted to raise us in a warm weather environment all year long.
Okay.
Because they were skiers and, they grew up in the snow and they realized that just it's how much harder it is kind of raising kids in the cold weather with like clothes and all. I don't know the whole details, but
Right.
at the same time, my parents loved Hawaii. They always visited Maui. So we moved here, and I was 2 years old, and then my dad was my dad grew up in Santa Cruz,
Oh,
which
really?
is a surf city,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay.
Yes, he grew up on the west side by
Oh, Stockton Street?
Stockton Street. He grew up on that street.
Okay. Wow.
He grew up on that street, full surfer, but like skier, blah blah blah. They grew up, and then they ended up coming here, wanted to raise us as kids, and taught us how to surf. My brother, my sister, my whole family is a full surf family.
That's rad.
My brother was a pro surfer for a little while too.
Yeah.
If you ever heard of Wesley Larsen.
Yeah. I am.
Okay, perfect.
So rad.
To this day, he freaking rips.
Oh, I bet.
Like I look up to him as a surfing because he's goofy foot, opposite side, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, oh my god, I love watching him. But yeah, we grew up over here together, and my dad put me on the front of his surfboard. I'll never forget the first ride I had.
Well, describe it.
Well, I remember just being on the front of my dad's surfboard and just that sound where it hits the water. Like, it's a longboard, you know?
Yeah, of course.
And it's like, I don't even know how to make the sound in general. But I'll never forget that. I still think about that when I do ride a longboard, which I don't really that much at all.
Okay.
But when I hear that sound, I just remember like the sound of the board going down over a wave. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And
That's right.
then, of course, I don't remember the full details, but when I was a kid, I think I was like 4 years old. I
Okay.
started surfing by myself on a Jerry Lopez board.
Oh, rad.
I'll never forget the way it looked. It was like camouflage. Like he kind of does the same art design on his boards. Still
Yeah,
to
kind of
this
like
day.
that G-Land look.
Yeah, and I had that board.
Wow.
It was pretty cool, and I'll never forget this place called Lania Poco, which is full longboard spot. Whatever they do like surf events there. Ever since I was a kid,
Okay.
and that was the first wave I caught. And
That's awesome.
I mean, I was hooked ever since. Just being by myself on a surfboard, I was just just standing straight, like not doing anything or anything like that, but.
But you got
I
the
was just
feeling.
like, all right. Oh yeah, I'll never forget the feeling. Actually,
Okay.
at 4 years old, I don't remember much else except that, which is crazy.
Wow.
Ever since then, I remember my dad thought I had like kind of talent,
Okay.
or my parents did in general,
Yeah.
and I just felt like this could be a thing, and I went for it. But there was other sports involved, like soccer, which I loved, and at the same time, Maui is such a cool spot to grow up when it comes to like surfing in general. Like, I just feel like even nowadays, I just look at the kids surfing nowadays and I'm just like, oh my God, there's so many perfect spots to learn how to surf.
Yeah.
You know?
And you guys on that island have so much talent. Like,
Oh, of course.
all generations, these guys are so good. You and all your friends and the new kids coming up and the older guys too, all kill it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I looked up to guys on Maui like, I don't know if, of course, you've heard of his name. Shade Magnuson, Ian
Yeah.
Walsh, of course.
Yeah.
Tyven Dyke, Kaleo Roberson, like all these names that I've heard of when I was so young,
Yeah.
kind of started the generation of surfing on Maui to make a name for themselves.
The progression,
But-
you mean?
I mean, just kind of just surfing in general.
Just good surfers.
Just good surfers, and maybe you can make a living out of it. Maybe.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
you never know. And I feel like those kind of guys made me realize, I was like, oh, well, I love surfing so much. And all of a sudden, when I turned a certain age, like maybe 8 or 9,
Okay.
I was idolizing Andy, Bruce,
Yeah.
the normal names in surfing.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I felt like maybe I can be well at this or whatever.
Yeah.
And I started like doing pretty good in contests, but like at a certain age, you don't know. Like up to maybe, I think personally, 15 nowadays,
Mm-hmm.
because there's so many kids that surf now. But when I was 8 or 9, I was thinking in my mind, I'm like, it's either soccer or surfing.
That's going
And
to be
I
your
knew I
profession?
was, yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, I knew surfing was a thing that I was good at, and I was winning contests, but I didn't really know what winning felt like, really meant. You know what I mean?
No, I don't. Tell me what you mean.
Okay. So when I was young, I was good at soccer,
Yes.
which I had a huge passion for because I was athletic. I would run faster than everyone, whatever. But surfing was there, and I didn't know what to work at more, kind of thing,
Okay, got it.
to spend more time at.
Okay,
But surfing, I had my best friends there.
got it.
Like Clay was one of my best friends when I was
Wow.
like 7 years old. Marzo,
Yep,
by the
we
way.
know you. Yeah, of course.
Dusty Payne, like Albie Lair, Matt Miola, all these guys you've heard of, I'm sure.
Of course.
And um, they went that same route with surfing. So I was like, you know what? I feel like I can compete with them.
Were you guys pushing each other?
Oh, yeah. That was like, I felt like Maui was such a surfing generation of like just, I don't even know if I'm explaining this right, but we felt like Maui wasn't really on the map for
Yeah.
pro surfing because I mean we get fickle waves a lot and not the best waves or anything like that, but we had so much talent from this island to where I felt like our generation put surfing on the map more,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
if that makes sense.
The talent, the people you just talked about are like, they're still, I mean, relevant today. They're still killing it. Clay is
Exactly.
like still like all over any,
Oh, I mean,
you know what I
Clay is
mean?
like one of my favorite surfers for sure.
Most people's favorite surfer, probably.
Yeah. But when it came to being like having a choice of what you want to do, we just all competed together. I mean, at the same time, I feel like this generation, what we had when we were younger, was so much more than what it is now. Sometimes I feel bad for parents that are trying to like get their kids to be pro surfers because it's not a guaranteed. Well, even at my generation, it wasn't. But I mean, if your parents want you to do it, like whatever. But it's so much different when it comes to like surf companies, if that makes sense.
So let
And
me ask you some questions about that, if you don't mind.
yes,
Okay. First off, you said parents want them to be. Did your parents want you to be a pro surfer, or did you want to be a pro surfer? There's a difference, I think.
yes. So it was more me
Okay.
for sure. My parents didn't, I mean, they moved here not as locals or anything like that. I mean, a
Right.
lot of parents do, but I feel like they were so much more strict on me and they pushed me for school. But at
Okay.
the same time, they knew I had a talent at something. But at that time in the surfing world, there was a lot more money and a career at it.
Yes,
I felt like.
I agree.
So they were like, okay, I know you're good at this, but I know I loved it. And I would always tell them, like, I think I'm good at, like, I feel like I want to be a pro surfer. I don't remember the specifics, but at the same time, I look at these parents and there's kids, and there's way more kids now. And I almost feel bad in a way. I'm like, not all of you are going to be this, world
Right.
champion or anything like that. Or I don't know. It's interesting
You're
nowadays
saying
compared to where I was at.
there was more opportunity, like sponsorship and stuff, when you were younger than there is today.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
A lot more opportunity.
So you were sponsored. At what age were you sponsored?
I got sponsored. My first sponsor, I was 10 years old.
Wow.
It was Rusty.
Really?
And I won national mini groms, 10 and under. Never forget it.
Wow, that's rad.
And I feel like that was like my point where I'm like, oh my God, I just won nationals. Like, I'm the best 10-year-old in the nation.
That's insane.
Yeah. And so, I mean, John Florence was in my final. Albie. Freaking, I don't know if you remember Thomas Clark, but he was like a phenom when I was a kid.
Okay, I remember the name, but okay.
And I forget who else was in it, but it was John and Albie was like the known names now.
Albie was
in
in
the
it
final.
too?
Yes.
Wow.
And so I'll never forget, actually, it was a funny story. Before the final, the reason why I remember this is because it's John Florence.
Of course.
He comes up to me, he goes, I'm going to beat you in the final or something ridiculous. I'm like, okay. And I'm like such a humble Maui kid. I'm like, whatever. Like, I just have my surfing and like, we'll see what happens. And I get like a 10 in the final.
Wow.
And yeah, I'll never forget that. That was a pretty cool experience.
Okay. So actually, so many directions we can go, but let's stay on that final for a minute. Where was the final at? Was it at Huntington or?
Lower Trussels.
Oh, lowers.
It was lowers.
Oh, that's
all
impressive.
my whole NSSA national career was all at Lower Trussels.
Oh, before they moved it to Huntington.
Yes.
I think it was at Huntington before, and then they moved it there, and then it came back. But okay, so how good was it? Was it good lowers?
Oh, it was like pumping lowers.
Really? And you're 10 years old, and you guys are paddling out at
I remember getting pounded at lowers.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, okay. So how big was it? Like pretty big as a 10-year-old, right?
From what I think of now, I feel like it's 6 feet, but it was probably like 3-4 feet.
Okay, all right.
But like just like that kind of south swell that hits it so well, and there's like no wind, and it's so glassy.
Oh my!
I remember those images in my mind for sure.
Do you remember the waves you caught? Do you have those in your head?
So the funny thing was, when I was sponsored by Rusty at the time, someone has a clip of me getting my 10-point ride. I forget who it was.
Oh, that's rad.
And I asked him, can I have that clip?
Yeah.
And he told me, yeah, just send me your email. And I don't know, this was like a long time ago, and I never did, and then I still don't have it. So it's kind of annoying that I don't have it, but I still have the image in my mind of the way it looked, because I had a green board, like a green railed board.
Okay.
And my dad was there. He took pictures. So I have pictures in a way.
Okay.
I mean, I can ask for it if you want them.
Sure. You can put them on the Instagram if you can get them.
If he can find them, because it's like the file. You know the little, like the ones where you look through a little microscope or whatever, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That kind of pictures.
Okay.
That was a long time ago.
Okay, so you're just so excited. I'm excited for you now. That was how long ago?
I mean, I'm 32 now.
15 years
so
ago?
That was 23 years ago now.
Wow.
22 years ago. That's
so
big.
you win the final, and I mean, it's such a young age, and with some of the best names in surfing today still. And how'd you feel? Did you say something to John after? Like, I beat you?
I mean, I was so nice and humble. I don't think I said anything to him after, but I'll never forget him saying that to me. That's something I'll never forget.
That's so fun. Are you guys friends?
Well, I mean, I will be friends with him when I see him, but I don't talk to him or anything like that.
Okay, you're just friendly.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's super funny.
He's like way too high profile for me. I'm like, oh, John. Like, I'm like starstruck when I see him sometimes. I'm like, what's up, John? Of course, he knows who I am, but
since you brought him up, what do you think about how much better he is than almost everyone else in the entire world?
Oh, man. Very true. Like, it's crazy to watch him surf, and I see everyone else, and I'm just like, no one compares to him.
Right?
Really? I mean, the only person I can compare him to is Gabriel Medina. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I think Medina has his level, but I mean,
I think.
man, it's actually really hard for me to say.
Okay, so here's my thought, and it doesn't mean nothing. I'm just nobody, but okay, listen.
Okay, okay.
Here's my thought. John has the talent, and I think Gabriel has the drive. Maybe.
That's okay. That's something I was gonna say. So John has a talent no other like no other, right?
Right.
And he competes like no other in a way to where if it's big, barreling, Sunset, Margaret River, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
he has a different level of competing where he
Yeah.
can just be like, I'm free surfing, you know?
Yeah.
But Medina, I feel like in a way competes better than him when it comes to strategy and his talent to
Yes.
where he can match it but competes better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because he has that. He has to win mentality.
That, but I don't know, it's weird because I remember when John first became pro, he had this weird spurt where he kind of like couldn't make heats and all these things to where I felt like he needed to learn how to compete better
Okay.
in a way.
All
And
right.
then, I mean, Medina was just always like a contest machine and he'll like compete in everything. He'll compete against someone or some of these events that like he knows he's better than everyone else and win like nothing. And then I remember when I first started the QS, John came in and he was still on O'Neill and wouldn't be able to make a heat. And I was like, oh my God, John Florence is like kind of fluking right now. But then, of course, there's like a growth spurt, even with Zeke Lau, like same little thing. They became taller. There was that growth spurt where I felt like they couldn't figure out their surfing in a way.
And that's possible.
Yeah. And they both kind of went through that. And then all of a sudden they're just, I mean, Zeke Lau is like on tour again, and I love the way he surfs. He's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I love the way he surfs.
And John too, like same thing. And I'll never forget when I felt like John kind of like faded. He put out that new when Taylor Steele did that thing with edits, like internet edit thing.
Yeah.
What was it called? You remember what it was called?
Yeah, because I watched it 5 trillion times. My son would watch it all the time. It's Intersection.
Intersection. So when he came out with his Intersection, I
That
watched
was
him
sick.
surf. I'm like, oh my God. And
Yeah.
ever since then, I swear to God, he bursted way too much on the scene.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, he's going to be world champ. And look at him. I mean,
Yeah.
he's two-time world champ, but he has a lot of injuries, which sucks.
Yeah.
Feel bad for him, but he's already.
We're all dealt the card. But let's go back to you. So
Okay.
you're 10 years old. So you win
Yes.
your national champ at 10, which is phenomenal. And that's a young age. I don't know what that means if you're national champ at 10.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I
great.
don't remember the feeling.
Okay.
I mean, I remember the feeling in a way, but not like fully.
Okay.
But I just remember feeling like, okay, I'm going to quit soccer. And since I just won nationals, I'm going to go my surfing route. And I won nationals 6 times.
Well, I know. Yeah, I saw that. That's amazing.
And throughout my age too, like not from 10, I went from 10, 12, 14, all the way till the end. And I won nationals. And so magazines were telling me I was going to be world title contender one day, this and that. And a little pressure got to me when I got to a certain age, in a way, I felt like.
Okay.
And Billabong signed me. There was most of the companies wanted to sign me. Quicksilver, Rip Curl. I remember like meeting with all of them. And I hired Brian Taylor, which was Kelly Slater's agent at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And before, and it was Chris Amore's agent now, I think. I don't know if
Okay.
it's the same agent anymore. We sat down with all these companies. They offered me all these things. Billabong offered me the best deal. So I went with Billabong.
Of course.
And when I went with Billabong, everything was epic. Like, they gave me a wild card in the J Bay, and I surfed there.
Okay, let's stop there. How's J
Okay.
Bay?
Oh, if you wanted to surf somewhere with a wetsuit
Mm-hmm.
and a point break, that's where you want to surf.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if that's desirable because of wetsuit aspect, but if you look at the wave, if you look at the wave, it's so nice and just so, I mean, it's fast, but it's so like soft, and if you know how to do turns and you want to get barreled real quick, like it's just such a down the line wave to where it's like one of my kind of dream waves because I grew up at a point break, Honolulu Bay,
Yeah.
and it's similar, but in board shorts.
Yeah.
I will never forget when they asked me if I wanted to be a wild card. I was like, hell yeah, like that's like what I grew up on, point breaks.
Yeah.
And so I got a wild card into it. And I'll never forget that actually, because
How
when I
could you?
went there, not just the experience, but when I went there, I was 18 years old at the time, and South Africa needs like a thing on your passport. I forget what it was. It was like a full stamp on your passport. Like one page has to be like a paper on it.
Okay.
And I didn't have any pages left on my passport. And so I had to stay the night in like East Coast and like added more passport pages and then left the next day. And when I left the next day, I got there at like midnight. Didn't go to sleep till like 2 a.m. And my trial heat was at 6 a.m. or
Oh,
whatever it
wow.
was. And I ended up winning.
Oh, wow. Cool.
At 18 years old, and I was like this is kind of a blur to me, but I'll never forget like feeling like, oh, whatever, like I can sleep. I don't need to sleep. Like I can just wake up and whatever. And I ended up winning, and I got in the contest, and I'll, just surf what I can do. And I woke up, and the waves weren't that great, but
Okay.
it was decent. I felt like I kind of knew how to surf a wave like that because I grew up on a wave like that. So I was
Real
like, oh,
similar. Yeah, of course.
looks like Honolulu Bay. All right,
Yeah.
I'll go out.
Just
And I
colder.
yeah, just colder. And I
Yeah.
wore booties too. And I was like, oh,
Ooh.
booties will help because when you walk on the, whatever it is, the little shells and
Yeah.
reef, it will hurt if it's cold. So I was like, I'm going to wear booties. Fuck it.
It's so hard.
And so I ended up winning. And then I got into the event. And my first heat was against Dane Reynolds and Mick Fanning.
Oh, my goodness.
It was like kind of pumping J Bay. And I was like, all right. Of course I'm doing this for fun.
Okay.
There's no way I'm gonna like win anything. And so I go out and I had a great time. I don't remember much for some reason. I wish I did. I just remember like seeing the footage after,
Okay.
and I felt like I surfed good. But when you're a wild card, they don't really score you the same as pros. So I was just like, whatever. And so I went into elimination round, and my first heat was against Andy Irons.
Oh, my gosh.
The next heat.
Yeah.
And so Andy is so cool to me. He's like, Granger, yeah, what's up? Like, it felt like he knew of me because of growing up in Hawaii.
Probably. Yeah.
Well, of course he did, but he would like mention these little like things about how I always mention him and his brother, my favorite surfers, and
Okay.
he remembers those things.
Well, that's so cool.
And he was like, yeah, Granger, what's up? And he said my name. I was like, what? I was so baffled.
Oh, rad.
And I was like, oh my gosh, my hero like knows who I am. And I'm in the event, whatever, and I surf against him. Either way, he was being so cool to me in the heat to where I don't know if he was like trying to like fuck with me or whatever. And I was like, all right. And I almost beat him.
Oh,
But,
wow.
a wild card's a hard thing to come out of against the best in the world.
Yeah.
Even if you're surfing your best,
Yeah.
And So either way, I didn't even care if I lost. I was like, I'm so happy to be here. I met my hero. He knew who I was, this and that. And ever since then, I mean, Billabong just treated me so well. I love that company until, of course, I got a job. But either way. Yeah. I mean, my first event as a CT or championship tour
Yep.
was a great experience.
Dude, that's a rad story. I love that story. I mean,
Yeah.
and at the time, these are the elite guys. So
Yeah. I mean, I served against, the guys that
like your
we grew
heroes,
up
all
on,
of them
or who
probably.
you hear of.
Yeah.
And now it's like a whole different generation, of course. And I always think about that as well. Like, I'm like, God, I should be in this generation. Shit. But, I mean,
We'll go backwards. So you're 6-time national champ. What are you thinking at this point? And you signed with Billabong. They're treating you very well. I mean, obviously they're sending you to J Bay. That's like the epitome like of being treated well. That's awesome.
oh, yeah, of course.
So now you're battling on the QS. How's the QS tour?
All right. So when I did some QS events when I was even just in the amateurs as well. And I love competing against like older guys and competing against, like a couple pros here and there. And I felt like I was like, all right, I'm ready. Like I want to be on tour,
Okay.
because that was my dream. Like
Yes.
any other young surfer wants to be on tour.
Right. So there's hundreds of you guys, right? Literally?
Oh, like literally, I mean, there's so many good surfers
Yeah. All trying to make it.
all trying to make it, but I kind of started pretty young. I remember my first QS event, I was like maybe 14, 15.
Okay.
Like I would do Sunset, Haleiwa, like if I could,
Okay.
when I was really young, like as an alternate or whatever. Like I was trying to like experience the pro level before I actually fully committed to
Okay,
that
makes sense.
level,
Was that like testing
And
the
I
waters
did-
kind of thing?
Yeah, I was testing the waters. Like I did a couple events in Huntington or Newport, and then Sunset, Haleiwa, just like regional events,
Yeah.
most likely. And I felt like I actually did pretty well in a couple of them. I was like, oh, all right. Like I'm still an amateur. I'm still competing on the, like the amateur level and doing. Of course, I'm like winning every event. I felt like at the time, and I was like, all right.
Cool.
When I turn 18, I want to go pro.
Okay.
And so when my last year at nationals, I won. There's 3 events, right? Or 3 divisions at NSSA. I was still at NSSA because the U.S. champs like wasn't not much of a thing at the time. It was
Gotcha.
more NSSA. NSSA was like way bigger.
Yep.
And so I had Open Men's, Explore Juniors.
Okay.
So I was like, I don't remember what age I was. Forget. But all 3 of them, I make the final. I win 2 of them, but the most main one was Open Men's
Yes.
to win, right?
Yes. Yes.
I'll never forget the final. Like I still have footage of it, and everyone in not just my corner. Of course, my corner is going to say I won. I
Yeah.
should have won.
Yeah.
But even guys like outside, like Dino and Dino, Kalohe's dad, to all these guys saying you should have won that, and I got second to Nat Young.
Wow.
I should have won all 3. It was like the first time ever someone's won all 3, if that would have happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
yeah.
it didn't, and I'm like, whatever. I won 2 other national championships, whatever, this and that.
Huge accomplishment. Huge.
And I was actually kind of pissed that I got second because everyone's telling me I won. I'm like, why did you even tell me this? Like, don't tell me that if you thought I won and I didn't, okay? Like, relax. Anyways, long story short, from there on, I was like ready to go pro. My contract, I had like a small contract with Rusty when I was like amateur.
Yep.
And like all the companies offered me something, but I wanted to stay with Rusty really bad because I was on
You
there
had a
since I was
relationship.
10 years old. Yeah, I was on there since I was 10 years old. But they didn't really offer me much. this and that. And I felt like for my career, it was better to go with a company that's known more with having a long relationship with their athletes, like Taj and Aki and Luke Egan.
Andy.
Like all these guys were on Billabong. Well, I mean, of course, Andy, but I mean, he was still like the 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 guy. Like Taj, Andy, and Joel.
Yeah.
I call him Joel because he doesn't like Parko. Those three guys, he doesn't. I was friends with him. He hates the word Parko. He's like, don't call me Parko. I'm like, all right. So Joel, Andy, and Taj, those three guys were, of course, like the pinnacle of Billabong when I was coming into being a pro. But like Aki, Luke Egan, like all these guys are still, they're
Yeah.
older, but they still have a career with that company.
The company pushes
And
them.
they
Yeah.
sold me on that to where even past my serving career, I'll have them as, I don't know. I just thought of like, I just don't want to be world champ. I want to I want to grow with the company even past my surfing career to where this and that.
Very smart.
Very smart. And so I signed with them and no looking back. Like it was an epic company to be with. I did all these things with all these guys that I looked up to. Like I said, Taj, Andy,
yeah.
Joel. I just couldn't believe where I was at the time. I was like, oh my God. And I did so well with a lot of competitions to where I was like, okay, I'm going to make the tour no matter what. And this is my life. It didn't go that well. I did well on the QS tour. And
So what happened? Yeah, I definitely, I need to know what happened.
so, okay. Kind of heartbreaking sometimes when I talk about it.
You
So
all right?
when, yeah, we're good.
Okay.
So when I started the QS, I did okay here and there. And then there's this 1 year where I wasn't even trying to qualify.
Okay.
I just like, all right, I'll just do the QS and see what happens because I know my talent. I'll just compete. And I think I was 20 at the time.
Just, I mean,
2000.
really young.
Yeah, I was 20. It was 2010. I was 20 at the time. And I did pretty much all the big QS events, this and that. And I did really well in a lot of them. Like I was like getting fifths, thirds, making the final here and there. And I was like so close to like being at that cusp of qualifying at the end of the year. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think I can qualify. Like my first year really trying on the QS.
Okay.
And it came to Haleiwa Sunset to qualify. And what I needed was at least a quarters and a win to qualify or something. So when it came into Haleiwa, I didn't think about it, and I actually made the semis.
Wow, cool.
I lost in the semis, and then when I came in the Sunset, I was like, didn't think about it, of course, but Reynos Hayes, if you know that name,
I do know the name.
was my coach for a long time, and he kind of brought it up to me, and I was like, wait, really? I can actually qualify? All right. And I did really well. I like went through all these heats and ended up making the semifinals. I'll never forget my semifinal. It was against Mick, John, and like I forget who the other guy was.
Okay.
Rowdy Montero,
Okay.
a Brazilian. And me and Rowdy Montero made the final together.
Really?
And once I made the final, it was me, Julian Wilson, Josh Kerr, and Rowdy Montero.
Wow.
And my coach said, if you win this final, you're going to qualify. And I'm like, what? I kind of wish he didn't tell me that. I was like, really? So I go into the final at Sunset, and I get the highest score in the final,
Okay.
which is an 8-point ride, and I only needed like a 5-point ride to win.
You need a good backup wave.
Yeah, I need a backup wave, a good one.
Yeah.
And Rowdy Montero sat on me, and this was at the time where there wasn't priority.
Okay.
And so he knew he was like winning, and I'm in third place, and he was sitting on me, this and that, and I was just like, oh my God. I have a feeling he's sitting on me because you can't really hear that well out at sunset.
Yeah, I bet.
And I'm like, oh my God, he might have heard something. He like, maybe I have a big score and if I get this score, I'm going to win. And he's like sitting on me instead of Julian because Julian was in second.
Okay.
And I'm like, what the hell's going on here? And I wish there was party at the time because I could have maybe got a wave that I got the score and won and qualified. And I don't know, my life could have been a lot different at that time, I realized. But I love my life. It doesn't matter. But that's what happened that year. I got third. I loved my result, whatever. One spot away from qualifying, all good. I'm only 20 years old. I'm only 20 years old. It's all good. Like, that's what I thought in my mind, even though I couldn't sleep at night, like thinking about it.
Yeah, I bet.
Then the next year starts, whatever, this and that. I don't know. It's a long story when it comes into 3 years in a row, coming like 1 or 2 spots.
That's hard, dude. That's super hard.
It's super hard because the next year I was still on Billabong and they signed me just for a 1-year deal. And I was like, really? Like, that kind of gave me more pressure to qualify. And I'm like, oh, great.
Okay.
And I had such a good year that year. I'll never forget. I like got third at Margaret River. I got all these big results, and it still came down to the end at Sunset or Haleiwa and Sunset. I would rather qualify before that.
Of course, yeah.
And Haleiwa and Sunset is like the biggest pressure waves ever because it's either big or just flat, and it's like not Sunset. Usually Haleiwa is like bigger flat, but
yeah.
Sunset is just so fickle and like so hard to read, and it's just whatever. And it came down to Sunset. I literally needed to make like 2 heats or something, and I lose first heat, and I was just like, oh my God. All right, next year I can do it. And I lose my sponsor. Billabong dropped me. They didn't want to re-sign me because they didn't believe in me anymore. And I totally understand because I felt like I didn't charge pipeline or like, put in the time at these spots as much as a lot of people do.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, it is what it is kind of thing. Like, pipeline's such a scary wave to where I was never really that great out there. I would spend hours out there just like shitting my pants in a way. And I would get a couple of good waves, but I would never get like a huge bomb and just like pack one. Like, I don't know. It's hard to explain how I felt like with pipeline. And you would sit out there for like hours on end with a million people and catch like one wave. And I just kind of couldn't stand it. I was like, fuck this wave.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about that wave in a way, even though I love to watch it and see people just charge and whatever, but I just couldn't stand myself sitting out there trying to think I can charge, which I'll go if like I'm in the clear, but there's so many people trying to go on one wave where that scared me more. And I don't know. There was just so much involved with my career in general to where I was just like, oh my God, I could have went this way. There's so many paths you could have went to where it could have been a lot different, but I'm here now and I look back on it sometimes and I'm just like, you know what? It is what it is.
Huh. I don't even know what to say. I mean,
what
fascinating
do you
story.
think about that?
I mean, I consider it kind of, I don't want to paint a picture. I don't know. I think you tried. You totally surfed, like you ripped. You still rip. But I don't know. I mean, is that the name of the game? Is that sports in general?
But I mean, I feel like a lot of rules in sports as well. I mean, surfing in general too, like with their whole change of ASB to WSL.
Yeah.
They had like this mid cut thing to there's so many things that changes every year that can screw someone up. I'm not saying generally speaking of me, but that happened to me to where it could have changed my life if I just qualified.
It totally would have. It would have been different life.
And And the year that it used to be, do you remember when it was 44 on
I
tour?
do. Of course, I remember it
The
vividly. Yeah.
next year was the year I should have qualified, and they changed it to 32.
Yeah.
And I feel like in myself, if I was on tour, I would stay on tour because of my surfing. The QS doesn't relate to my surfing. Like, even though I did well in these certain events,
Mm-hmm.
beach breaks, whatever, like, that wasn't my type of surfing. The
Yeah.
tour, the Dream Tour, these waves they have on tour, I felt like
Suited
related
your
to my
surfing.
surfing more.
Yeah, suited it.
Exactly.
Wow.
So, I mean, I just felt like once they cut it to 32, it was even harder to get on tour, which everyone experiences now. Like, there's these guys that can't get back on tour, like Connor Coffin can't get. I mean,
Yeah.
he was on tour for a couple of years and he was top 5, and now he can't even get back on. And there's all these guys that, like, I feel like 32 is not the number, because a lot of people like to watch even guys that can beat the number one surfer from the bottom. And I don't know. I have so much opinions about the surf world, but I don't like to be too negative about it.
No, and I get that. I mean, but you can say whatever you want. You said in the beginning of this that you still watch pro surfing. How often do you watch it?
It's funny, like, once I stopped kind of like focusing on it, I just never really watched it. I was like, ah, whatever. But now
Okay.
I'm like so into watching because there's these guys that were on the QS with me that just made it on tour, like this year, like like Ramsey Boukayem from Morocco.
Yeah.
I was like, he was like one of my good friends on tour. Like, we'd struggle together and like lose heats, and like we'd hang out. And I mean, I don't know if because of his work ethic, I don't know if some people have money. I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know how some of these guys still kept on tour without a sponsor.
I don't understand that either.
I don't understand. Like, even there was this kid from Guadeloupe, and he did it for like 7 years after me. And I'm just like, how is he still doing this without a sponsor? It didn't make sense to me. I don't know. I just don't understand how some of these guys still do the QS without qualifying and just spend all this money traveling without a sponsor.
But let's talk about the surf industry a little bit. My thoughts, and get your thoughts, because you were actually involved and you were in the surf industry as a pro surfer.
Yes.
Is there's a lot of good surfers even on the CT that have no sponsors or no big sponsors, no Billabongs.
Exactly.
I don't understand what's going on in the surf industry. That John's the only guy, which he started his own brand.
Yeah. I think, I don't know. I feel like they did well enough
Yes.
throughout the QS season to make enough money to keep their dream alive.
Okay.
I mean, I tried to do that when I didn't have a sponsor. My last year, I did it,
Yeah.
and I just didn't do well. So I was like, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I'm gonna go debt, or I'm gonna go bankrupt, or whatever.
Yeah. That sucks.
But a lot of these guys like did well enough. Even if they didn't qualify, I felt like they did well enough to make enough money to like keep doing it every year. They came to the cusp of qualifying and making enough to just do it the next year, and then they just kept their dream alive. And then it came to a point where, okay, I'm on tour now.
Yeah.
And then once you're on tour, you're making, I don't know how much it is last place, but you're making enough money to keep going.
Okay.
Really?
To survive.
I mean, to survive, but if you have a family and stuff, no way.
No way.
Like, no way.
Yeah.
So that's why, I mean, there's a couple guys that were on tour and they just were like, I don't have a sponsor. No one wants to sponsor me, and I'm going to quit.
Yeah.
And they love surfing with a passion, but they don't have enough money to support their family, like, at home, and they're the ones traveling without a sponsor,
Before your time, there was the PSAA, like, domestic tour. I think they need to bring some. I would love for them or someone to bring that or something equivalent to that back to the U.S. so we can watch pro surfing. There's hardly any events in the United States at all.
I
Oh,
know, like the Bud Light tour or something.
right. That's what I'm talking about. You lost Billabong, so now you're just like
Well,
done.
it came to where I was just, spending money on my credit cards
Yeah,
and
that's hard, dude.
trying to chase my dream still. And
Right.
I couldn't give it up. I was like, no, this is my dream. I'm gonna make it. And then I just actually somehow I was surfing my best, but I was just doing worse in contests and I didn't know why. But
Mm,
it almost made me feel like ever since Billabong did drop me and I couldn't get another sponsor to pick me up, made my confidence and my, just my whole thinking of competing way worse and like not being able to like get through heats and like a lot of competing is in your head.
yeah.
You don't have to surf the best, but you can outsmart someone or like be so confident and you can get the right waves. A lot of it's luck involved because like you can be like 10 seconds left and you need like a 5 point ride and you can get that wave easily and win the heat, or that wave doesn't come and lose the heat.
Right.
Like there's so much luck involved with surfing because of the
Huge.
mother nature of it, but at the same time, of course, a lot of talent is involved.
There's so many good surfers.
Once it came to my career ending decision was, okay, I bought a house out of this in
That's great.
Hawaii. I do not want to lose my house. So
No.
I need to stop this and get a real job.
Okay. So is that what you did then?
Yeah, so once I stopped surfing, I wanted to compete so bad still. I was like, oh my God,
You
I'll
had that
just do
drive
like a
still.
couple local events. Yeah, of course. And so I did like there's like all Mana Bowls and Sunset still like just for you to do if you don't have that much points in the QS or whatever.
Okay.
And then it came to where I was like, I can't even afford to just go to Oahu and stay on the North Shore. I was doing surf lessons, trying to do surf coaching. I still want to do surf coaching, but it was really hard here. And then I realized I was like, you know what? Why don't I just try a real 40-hour job, 40-hour week job, and see how I feel? Because I live in a place I grew up. My favorite wave in the world is Honolulu Bay. Let's see what happens. So
Okay.
I applied for the Ritz-Carlton,
Okay.
Kapalua, and it's literally 5 minutes from my house. Honolulu Bay is 5 extra minutes.
Yes.
You can see Honolulu Bay from the resort.
Yeah.
Let's see what a 40-hour week looks like. Like a normal job.
Okay.
And I started it about 5 years ago, and I've been there since. And I love my life.
Do you? How do you like working 40 hours or working in the day when the waves are good and you can see them at work? That must
Ooh,
be
it's brutal. It's
brutal, right?
for sure. But when I get off, I just go straight there,
Okay.
Like
That's
I can see it on my way to work. I'm like, oh, this wave's shit. I should have called out kind of thing. I'm like, I should have called sick. But I just like, okay, I'm going to go make some money and then I'll go. So I like try not to think about it at work, but it's all good once I'm at work. I met the love of my life just recently. Like, I mean,
oh,
we've been together for like 4 or 5 years now.
that's awesome.
Or
Congratulations.
actually, it's been 5 years ever
Cool.
since I started working at the Ritz. But
That's awesome.
I made a life for myself where I love to be.
Okay, good.
Instead of dwelling on my surf career, which a lot of people do, I feel like.
Do they?
I mean, I don't really post anything on Instagram. I used to try to post my surfing and like try to get my name out there still and like try to get a sponsor because that was my career. But then it came to a point where I'm like, you know what? Like it's over. Like it's fine. Like if someone loves my surfing, it doesn't mean they're gonna pay me for my surfing. You have to be marketable. You have to be either a very marketable free surfer or you got to go for your dream and be a competitor and try to make the tour.
Yeah.
Just like, there's so many guys on tour that don't have sponsors, like you say. But I don't know. I just chose a route to where I want to forget it and try to move on from it, even though I love the full surfing world and watching surfing and the new generation coming up. Like
Yeah.
just recently, I realized who my favorite surfer was.
Who's
For a
that?
long time, I didn't know who my favorite surfer was. I was like, oh, these guys are all good, whatever. But I, right when I was ending my QS career, Ethan Ewing was just coming on.
Yeah, he's a great surfer.
And I was like, oh, he's trying to surf like Andy. Come on, like, get out of here. Like, just like pretending. I don't know. And now I watch him like, God damn, that kid's good. So
Super
I'm
good.
thinking he's my favorite surfer right now.
What I'm hearing from you, your whole life you had this passion of surfing and you pursued it. 10 years old as national champ, 12,
Of course.
14, 18 years old, and you turn pro and you're pursuing something that you love. And then it kind of lets you down a little bit. But now you're looking at it today and you're like, I still love this surfing.
Yeah.
I just have to.
I mean, I feel like it let me down in a way to where I pursued it as a career, right?
Yes.
Which I shouldn't have gone that way sometimes. I mean, even though it made me who I am in my life,
Okay.
and I got all these perks out of it, but sometimes I feel like I wish I went a route to where I just wanted to love it and just surf for myself. And
that's what you have today, though, right?
of course, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I went that route now. I mean, I'm only 32 years old. I could be still a pro and try to pursue that tour and be sponsored and make all this money, whatever these guys have, which a lot of them don't because
They don't, probably.
I mean, yeah. I mean, the surfing industry is so hard nowadays. Like, even Dusty Payne, for instance, like, he was on
Yeah.
tour. Like, I still talk to him here and there, and he's just like, no, I stop. I'm over it. Like, but either way, like, I just trip out on some of these people that think surfing is such a career path to where it's more for a passion in a way that you should realize. I mean, when I was young, that's all I wanted to do was surf. I didn't really think about the pro career path that much until I got to a certain point to where I knew I was good enough. And then nowadays, I feel like there's these kids or kids' parents in general that think that their kid's going to be pro. And I'm like, no, that's not the story. Like, let your kid love it. And if he's at a good level and winning contests, then think about it. But don't push him too much to where it's like he's going to maybe hate surfing one day, or he's going to... No one really hates surfing ever. Really. What am I talking about here? But I mean, hate the fact that like your parents are pushing you to try to be a pro, which maybe that's not your talent or your career path. I don't know.
Yeah.
If
No,
that
I
makes
agree.
sense. I don't know. I don't know if I'm making sense right now. I'm just
No, I
blabbering.
think I agree with you. Let the kid make the decision.
Yeah, I mean, if I had a kid, I would love to get him in surfing. And if he loves it, then maybe he has a talent at it. I don't know.
Yeah.
You never
Right
know.
on. Are you still watching? So you said you're still watching pro surfing, like when Pipeline and stuff, right?
Yeah, actually, so like I said, like before I was like, I don't really want to watch it anymore. But then like lately I'm just like so into it because I actually really want to make something out of my surfing career still to
Okay.
where either like a podcast like how you're doing it
Yeah,
or coaching to something. I know there's going to be some sort of future for surfing to where I can be involved with because it was my life. It was my identity.
Yeah. Well, you still identify as a surfer, right? Not a golfer.
Oh, of course. Come on.
You just golf, but you are a surfer.
I'm just passionate about golfing because I love it.
I get it. Yeah, I totally get it. I don't get the golf thing, but I get what you mean.
Yes. So with surfing, I'm so passionate about it. I know everything about it. Like I know technique. I just feel like I'd be a great coach, but I don't know my path towards still being in the surf world.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Like I'm so isolated sometimes where I'm at, like in Kapalua, Maui, Napili. And it's like there's so many good surfers coming up for me and I want to coach them, but like no, I don't want to like, I want to do it for like almost my passion more than try to make money out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
At
You
first,
want
at
you for the
least.
love of it.
But yeah, at first, at least. But like, because I tried to do that, try to make money out of it when I stopped my surfing career, and it didn't really help. And I was like, oh shit, I'm not making much money. I got to do something else. But I almost want to make it a passion of myself to be like, okay, I want these Maui kids to grow up, you know,
Yeah.
into like very good hands.
Let me ask you a couple questions.
Maui.
How are the youth of Maui? Who are the kids coming up? Do you know?
Well, I mean, Eli Hanneman is from here, but he moved to Oahu.
Yeah, he's such a good
But
that kid's a
he's
phenomenal.
already, yeah, no, he's already 20, which I tripped out. I was like, wait, what? I remember when he was like 10. What the hell is
Yeah.
going on here? He's already 20, but there's like a couple other kids, like my friend's kids are really good that I work with actually. His name's Mason Burns.
Oh, I think I would know that name.
There's this kid named Zoltan. That's really good. I mean, there's so many kids. I just need to get back out there and remember their names. I forget a lot of them because they're already like 16 now. I'm like, oh my god, these kids are like way older than I thought they were.
Well, time flies.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So let's talk about some of the other waves there. Are you into surfing Jaws?
Oh, so Jaws, man. Oh, I mean, it's so hard for me to want to go surf there because it's such a scary big wave, even though it's on my island.
Okay.
It's on the other side of the island where
Yeah,
I
it's on the
live,
whole keep aside.
and it's where Albie and Matt Miola and all those guys live, Kai Barger and
Yeah.
stuff. And I've gotten invited from Albie so many times, like, bro, just come with me. And I'm like, just like, I want to, but man, like, I'm not a big wave surfer.
Okay. Fair.
That was not my thing ever. And I just don't have bone in my body to just be like, I want to go surf it, you know? I
Okay.
just I feel like my max is like, I've been in the Pipe Masters, I've been in, you know, like these events where it's like big waves, like pipeline in general.
Yeah.
And that's like my limit is pipeline.
Okay. Fair enough.
And pipeline kills more surfers than anywhere, which I'm like, wait, should I be surfing this wave too? Like,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's like, you know, like I know my limits and I want to surf where I enjoy it instead of being scared shitless. Like for real. Like I'm just like,
No,
oh
no,
my God.
100% for
Like,
real. That wave
I'll
will
even-
kill you.
No, I know. I even surf Honolulu Bay and it gets like 10 to 12 feet and I'm out there and I'm just like, oh my God, it's freaking huge out here. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And that was part of my downfall with my pro career, I feel like sometimes, to where I was like, not a go for it guy. Like, I know my limits and I just want to, you know,
Yeah.
I know my skill level, even though my skill level can handle certain things. I just
Yes.
felt like it was in my mind more than anything.
Okay. No,
If that makes sense.
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Have you been traveling or you been staying on the island lately?
So,
recently?
how's this? So, after my career, my last place I went to the out of the country was Costa
Yep.
Rica for an event, which was 2017.
Okay.
Did the rest of the year, went to Haleiwa, of course, and Sunset and all those events.
Okay.
And that's when I kind of just stopped my career. Didn't go out of the country until last year, 2023 now. But
Yeah.
2022, first year out of the country, I had to get a new passport and everything. I went to Italy with my girlfriend.
So rad.
Most amazing trip I ever been on. Like,
Wow.
literally. We went to Rome, Florence, did all these things together. And I never really experienced life like that without going to a country and just focusing on an event and going surfing and this and that. I was like, you know what? I can't wait for this kind of trip to go just for us and do sightseeing and place I'd never been to in my life, which is Italy, of course.
Okay.
We went to a friend's wedding. We made a trip out of it, but we went to a friend's wedding at the end of it, and it was like literally one of the best times I ever had in my life.
That's awesome.
And then I come home, go to work, whatever, and then we just literally got back from Japan right before Christmas.
That's
My
rad.
girlfriend's half Japanese,
Okay.
and we met. I've been to Japan one time just for a surf event, like I said,
Okay.
just for surfing. So I don't have those kind of experiences with a lot of places I went to just for leisure, just for
Mm-hmm.
pleasure and seeing things I've never experienced before. And so we went and we stayed at her grandma, Obachan in Japanese,
Okay.
old Japanese house in
Wow, that's cool.
Kawasaki. And it was the coolest experience. Like just trying to learn the Japanese language, and the food is just ridiculous. When I went, I just don't remember those things. Like I didn't appreciate it. I took it for granted. And
Yeah.
I feel like now that I'm older and not really thinking about going for an event or whatever, I feel like way more grounded about it. I'm like, oh my God, like why didn't I try to think about these things when I go to these places? Because I've been all over the world all my life for these experiences and life, and for these surf events. And
Yeah, yeah,
now
yeah.
I'm just like, when I want to go out of the country, I want to experience more of a grounded and, experience pleasure to where I don't want to think about one thing, which I used to do. So it was
So
amazing.
you were hyper focused on the job, the job at hand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like I would be home for 3 months out of the year,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of, it was taxing.
Of course.
And I would go to some of these places where I should have really enjoyed an experience for myself, instead of like going there, losing like first heat in a contest and just wanting to go home. Like I wish I didn't do that. I
Yeah.
fully took it for granted. You know what I mean?
So if you had advice to a young and upcoming pro surfer, would you tell them to enjoy the experiences, or what would you tell them?
Oh, definitely. Like if you're coming up and if you're trying to be a pro surfer, and maybe you'll lose first heat, like which everyone experiences in a pro surfing life, experience the place where you're at, experience the culture, like just enjoy where you're at, because it's not going to last for that long
Yeah.
at all.
Mm-hmm.
At all. Like it could last for 5 years, 10 years. Like my career was 8 years, and I enjoyed every single bit of it. But there was those times where I took it for granted, to where I just wanted to freaking go home because I was never home. But at the same
Yeah.
time, it's not going to last that long, and you want to experience that journey longer than you think.
Well, I'm stoked you had a good time this last year. That's rad.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I couldn't believe I went out of the country 2 times in 1 year, and I have been out of the country in 5 years before that.
That's
I was like,
rad.
oh my
That's
God.
awesome.
So it was crazy.
And then what else would you tell? Anything else? Any other advice you'd give to a young and upcoming surfer? Because you have a lot of experiences, life experiences, and surfing experiences.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a young up and coming surfer, like when it comes to a point in your life to where you think you're going to be a pro, I hope that whatever you do is like not just focused on that. Especially when you're like a 10-year-old, 12-year-old, I mean, it's hard to not when you're
Mm-hmm.
so involved with your surfing and how much you love it, because that's what I had. But when it comes to a certain point in your age, teenagers, high school, whatever, you gotta think about other things as well. You gotta have a plan B, because I didn't have a plan B.
Yeah.
My plan B was, I don't even know what it was. I was just like, all right, like this is my career. I'm gonna go for it. And I feel bad for some people. I mean, like my parents weren't wealthy, like they never had money.
Yeah.
It's not like I can fall back on that. Even though my dad, once I stopped pro surfing, my dad offered me money to do it one more time. And I was like, Dad, no, I'm not taking your money.
Wow,
And
that's
I was
super
like
cool of him.
20. Oh, it's super cool of him. I love him to death because of it. And I'm like, Dad, no, like I can't, I don't want to put that's like more pressure for me, because
Yeah.
you're offering me money to do a whole another year of this whole expense, where I don't think it's fair. So
Yeah.
I just totally was like, no, I shut it down. But I feel like kids nowadays, especially since the surfing industry is not as financially stable as what it was, I feel like they should not just have surfing. Like, of course, love it to death. If you have the talent, go for it, but still have something in your back pocket.
That's smart. That's smart words.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I wish that too, because there's so many things I never knew. It's so funny because, like, even being with my girlfriend,
Mm-hmm.
she trips out on a lot of things I didn't know. She's like, "You didn't know that?" Like, just gets pissed at me, and I'm like, "Fuck, I didn't know that. I'm sorry."
That's
You know,
funny.
I think it's funny now, but and then I feel bad. I'm like, "Fuck, sorry, sorry, I didn't
I
know
love
that."
that.
Yeah,
She
it's
sounds
funny.
like a cool girlfriend.
Oh, she's awesome. I love her to death.
Oh, that's great. So we talked about the traveling, and then how traveling has changed for you, and I think that comes with age too, probably, maybe.
Yeah, I
Appreciation
mean,
comes, age brings that.
yeah.
But what kind of boards are you riding right now? Are you just on your regular thruster?
Oh
Are you
man,
riding
you
longboards or
don't want to
alternative
know what
craft?
boards I'm riding right now.
What are you riding?
Okay, so I used to be sponsored by DHD, Darren Hadley,
Yep.
and I still ride DHD.
Oh, cool.
No, but I mean, as in, like, I haven't bought a board in like 5 years.
Okay, cool. If they work and they're still in good shape, why not?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I go surf, right?
Uh-huh.
And I have this DHD I've had for like 5 years. And the
Right.
thing is yellow as shit. And it's like my favorite board, and I can't not ride it. And I'm just like, everyone just rouses me like, bro, when are you gonna get a new board? And I'm like, why would I buy? Why am I gonna spend like $800 on a surfboard when this board works fine?
I mean, I agree. You're
And I
surfing for
do
yourself. Who gives a shit?
exactly. I do have like 10 other boards that I don't ride
Uh-huh.
in my little board room, mud room it's called.
Yeah.
And I mean, I should just venture off, but I'm just worried that I'm going to take it out and it's not going to work as good as my old board. And I'm just going to be pissed about my session. So, I don't know.
Yeah, but
I
I
have
think
these
you can
like
fix
weird
that.
theories.
I think you have enough talent that you can make any board work, probably, is my
Yeah,
guess.
maybe.
What about like riding longboards or anything when it's smaller? Or do you stay away
Oh,
from the slope?
oh no, I love longboarding. My girlfriend, so when we met, I took her surfing, of course, and then I longboard here and there.
Yeah.
It's been a little while, but she loves it, and it's so funny. I'll take her out, and it's like 1 foot somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
and she'd be like, "Oh my god, it's like the Eddie out here!" Like, she's hilarious, by the way, but she says that kind of shit, and I think I love it. And no, I longboard. In the summertime, especially in Maui, it's not that much swell, and
Right.
a lot of good longboarding spots. So yeah, I'll longboard here and there, and then I mean, one of my ultimate passions right now. I know it has nothing to do with surfing, but
That's
I'm
fine.
so psyched on golfing, like I said before. And I did junior golf when I was a kid, but
Okay.
I didn't get that into it. But I don't know why. Like nowadays, I just love golfing. I don't know what it
So
is.
tell us, why do you love golfing? What does it bring out of you that makes it joy?
It's weird. Like you go out and you're trying to. It's competitive about. I mean, you're competing against yourself,
Yes.
pretty much. Unless you go out with friends and you're competing like against for money, but
Yeah.
you're still competing for yourself or
Okay.
to yourself. Like you want to. It's all a mind game, and surfing's similar. It's all a mind game.
Okay.
Like when it comes to being in the right place at the right time, or when it comes to golfing, you're hitting the shot at the right place you want to go, but I mean that's like impossible. And it's probably personally the hardest sport in this world to me to perfect.
Okay.
And I
So
still
it's a
think it's
challenge.
a challenge. It's the challenge.
Okay.
And I don't think surfing's easy at all. Like I still have a challenge with surfing, but it's similar to when it comes to your mind, which I like.
Okay. Now let's go backwards all the way to the back to where we started this conversation.
Okay. Yes.
Your dad surfed. Is your mom surf too?
She used to.
Okay. Does your dad still surf?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
What's your dad's name?
Rick.
Rick.
RIC.
So, but when he surfed in Santa Cruz, he had a love for surfing already then, right?
Oh, of course. But he was more of a skier, of course. Like he
Go to
would
Tahoe.
go to Tahoe, and I was actually born in Mammoth Lakes,
Oh, okay, cool.
California.
Yeah.
Me and my brother were, and my dad and mom were like full avid skiers, and my dad was a ski pro, mogul
Wow.
skier.
Cool.
He had like events and everything, and my mom was a ski instructor.
Oh, nice.
And they met on a single ski lift. That's
Oh,
how
there
they
you go.
met. Yes. They got married in Tahoe, and then they moved to Mammoth. They loved the snow, and then they realized once my brother was born, my older brother,
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty sure this is like the right answer, but they didn't want to raise us in the cold weather.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And they visited here so many times, they loved it here, so they just decided to move here.
Yeah, go to your dream destination. Smart.
Both of them literally had like $600 in their accounts.
You know what? You live once, you got to go for it.
Yeah.
You know. Well, so does your brother still surf?
Oh yeah, my brother. So my brother's Wesley Larsen. He
Okay.
he was competing with me as well. We're both sponsored by Rusty, and we went to nationals together. He did well. He made a couple finals here and there, and
Okay.
then he went the route of filming. And
Really?
he was a good filmer. Like a lot of my footage you've seen is from my brother.
Okay.
Like later on,
Yeah.
he went that route for a little bit, and he kind of struggled with it because surfing. I mean, how can you make money filming? Really, personally,
Yeah.
in the surf world, I
Yeah.
don't understand. And so he went the wedding route,
Smart.
and he is freaking killing it. Like
Good for him.
ridiculous. Like I'm jealous of his business.
No, that's awesome. He took something he
Right.
loved and he made it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, he
That's
went to
awesome.
school for it too in high school, and he always did it, but he never thought anything of it. And then later on, he's just so talented. Like I watch his stuff. Like I'll send it to you on
Cool.
his
Yeah.
Instagram. It's called Wes Larsen Media. It's like
Okay. Yeah, for
epic
sure.
footage of weddings and shit. It's ridiculous.
That's rad. Awesome.
Yeah.
Right on. So thank you, Granger. I really appreciate it, everybody. Thank you guys for joining us. This is Mike and Granger Larsen, and we're out of here. See ya.
All right, Mike. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Aloha.
100 foot out choke food. 100 racks on a surf dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Food. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. 100 foot out choke food. 100 racks on a surf dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Food. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. You know we don't fuck with no kooks. Your boo on my didgeridoo. They calling me dude. I'm stacking the loot. I'm ripping your chick in the coop. She grabbing a hold of my leggy. They jelly, they Gucci my weddy. The fridge of Giuseppe, the chain is so heavy. She thinks that I'm charging the Eddie. 100 foot out choke food. 100 racks on a surf dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Food. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. 100 foot out choke food. 100 racks on a surf dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Food. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. Surf trap, I'm stacking that money. Cash. Four shorts, a red Ferrari. He starts to calling me Dundee. Diamonds are surfing McFlurry. She want me to teach her to surf. Splash. I'm pulling up, ripping the verse. I'm leaving these kooks in the hearse. They get moved 100 foot on their head, they get work. 100 foot out choke food. 100 racks on a surf dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Food. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. 100 foot out choke food. 100 racks on a surf dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Food. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. You know we don't fuck with no kooks. You know we don't fuck with no kooks. You calling me dude, I'm stacking the loot. I'm ripping your chick in the coop. You know we don't fuck with no kooks. You know we don't fuck with no kooks. They calling me dude, I'm stacking the loot. I'm ripping your chick in the coop.
Hey, you guys, Endless Summer box set. This thing is legit. It's authentic, numbered certificate in it. It has a 5-frame film strip from the original print. You literally own a piece of history. It has a specially minted bronze medallion. Dude, that thing's sick. Okay, there's so much more here. Go to the show notes. There's a link on there. Go check this piece of history out. This thing's rad. Seriously. Smithsonian American History Museum has it. It took 4 years of research with 3.5 in production, all hand assembled. This thing's rad. So much to this awesome box set. Remastered DVD, sharper images than the original film, but dude, this thing's so sick. Link in the show notes.